The successful attack on the alien orbs marked a turning point in the invasion. Humanity had proven it could fight back. As news of the victory spread, hope ignited around the world like wildfire. In the weeks that followed, resistance groups sprouted up everywhere. People from all walks of life joined the cause. Soldiers taught civilians how to fight. Scientists worked around the clock to understand alien technology. Farmers grew food to feed the fighters. Everyone had a role to play. Sarah Johnson, the office worker from New York, found herself running messages between resistance cells. Her knowledge of the city's underground tunnels proved invaluable. "I never thought I'd be doing something like this," she said to John, the ex-soldier, as they dodged alien patrols one night. "But it feels good to fight back." John nodded, his face grim but determined. "We all have to do our part. The aliens thought we'd just roll over and die. We're showing them how wrong they were." As the resistance grew stronger, so did the aliens' response. They increased their attacks, targeting not just military installations but also civilian areas. Entire cities were reduced to rubble. The death toll climbed into the millions. But for every person the aliens killed, 2 more joined the resistance. Humanity's spirit, it seemed, could not be broken. In her hidden bunker, Maria, the young engineer, made a breakthrough. She had been studying the debris from a downed alien ship. "Look at this," she said, pointing to a strange, glowing device. "I think this is how they communicate across vast distances, if we can disrupt it." Her team worked tirelessly, reverse engineering the device. After weeks of trial and error, they succeeded in creating a jamming signal. When tested, it completely blocked alien communications in a small area. "It's not much," Maria admitted, "but it's a start. If we can scale this up." The news of Maria's invention spread quickly through the resistance network. Soon, similar devices were being built all over the world. For the first time, humanity had a way to level the playing field. Meanwhile, the global evacuation plans continued. Massive ships were being built in secret locations, designed to carry thousands of people to distant stars. But as news of the Resistance's successes spread, fewer and fewer people volunteered for the evacuation. President Chen held another press conference, her tone markedly different from her first address. "My fellow citizens," she said, her voice strong and confident, "we face an enemy that seeks to destroy us. But we are not defeated. We will not run. We will stand and fight for our home." The crowd erupted in cheers. Around the world, similar scenes played out as leaders abandoned the evacuation plans and threw their support behind the resistance. The aliens, sensing the shift in humanity's resolve, changed tactics. They launched a massive assault on Earth's major cities, intending to crush the resistance once and for all. The battle was fierce. Alien ships filled the skies, raining destruction down on the cities below. But humanity was ready. Using Maria's communication jammers, resistance fighters were able to coordinate their attacks without the aliens intercepting their plans. In New York, Sarah led a team through the subway tunnels, planting explosives under key alien positions. In Tokyo, hackers used the aliens' own technology against them, causing their ships to crash into each other. In Rio, John commanded a group that managed to capture an alien weapon, turning its power against its creators. For days, the battle raged. The aliens, for the first time, found themselves on the defensive. Their carefully laid plans were falling apart in the face of humanity's unexpected resistance. As the dust settled, humanity emerged bloodied but unbowed. They had suffered heavy losses, but they had also dealt a significant blow to the alien invaders. Several major cities had been retaken, and alien ships littered the landscape, providing even more technology for humans to study and use. In the remains of what was once downtown Los Angeles, Maria stood with John and Sarah, surveying the destruction. "We've won this battle," John said, "but the war is far from over." Sarah nodded, her face streaked with dirt and determination. "But we've shown them what we can do. We're not running. This is our home, and we're going to fight for it." Maria smiled, holding up her latest invention, a small device that could detect alien energy signatures. And we're going to keep getting better at fighting them. They thought they knew what humans were capable of. We're going to show them how wrong they were. As the sun set on the battered but unbroken Earth, the three friends stood together, ready to face whatever came next. The aliens had expected humans to flee. Instead, they had chosen to fight. And they were just getting started. The day started like any other. People went about their daily lives, unaware that everything was about to change. As the sun rose higher in the sky, strange objects appeared on the horizon. At first, most thought they were just odd-shaped clouds. But as they grew closer, it became clear these were no ordinary clouds. Massive spaceships, each the size of a small city, loomed over major cities worldwide. Their dark, metallic surfaces reflected the sunlight, creating an eerie glow. People stopped in their tracks, mouths agape, as they witnessed the impossible becoming reality. In New York City, Sarah Johnson, a young office worker, stared out her office window in disbelief. "What are those things?" she whispered to herself. Around her, colleagues gathered, their faces a mix of awe and fear. Suddenly, every screen on Earth, TVs, computers, smartphones, flickered to life with the same message. "Attention, inhabitants of Earth. We have arrived. Your planet is now under our control. Resistance is futile." Panic spread like wildfire. In the streets below, cars screeched to a halt. People ran in all directions, their screams filling the air. Some rushed to stores, grabbing whatever supplies they could. Others huddled in groups, desperately trying to make sense of what was happening. World leaders scrambled to respond. Emergency meetings were called, and military forces were put on high alert. But against such advanced technology, what could they really do? As day turned to night, the aliens made their next move. Strange, glowing orbs descended from the ships, hovering over key locations, government buildings, power plants, and military bases. With a flash of blinding light, these structures were instantly vaporized. The message was clear. The aliens could destroy anything they wanted, anytime they wanted. In Washington, D.C., President Emily Chen addressed the nation, her voice trembling slightly despite her efforts to remain calm. "My fellow Americans and citizens of the world," she began, "we face an unprecedented crisis. These alien invaders have technology far beyond our own. Our military forces are—" She paused, swallowing hard. "They are no match for this threat." Around the globe, similar speeches were being given. The message was the same everywhere: prepare to evacuate. Plans were announced to build massive spacecraft, arcs that could carry a portion of humanity to distant stars. "It's our only hope for survival," the leaders said. But not everyone agreed. In a small town in the Midwest, a group of friends sat around a table in a dimly lit basement. John, a former soldier, slammed his fist down. "We can't just run away," he exclaimed. "This is our home. We have to fight." Maria, a brilliant young engineer, nodded in agreement. "Their technology is advanced, but it can't be perfect. There must be weaknesses we can exploit." As they talked, their determination grew. They weren't alone. All over the world, pockets of resistance were forming. People from all walks of life, soldiers, scientists, teachers, and everyday citizens, were coming together, refusing to give up their home without a fight. In secret labs and hidden bunkers, work began on understanding the alien technology. Every piece of debris from their attacks was studied. Every transmission was analyzed. Slowly, a picture began to form. The aliens, it seemed, were not invincible. Their ships emitted a specific energy signature that could potentially be disrupted. Their communications used a complex but not unbreakable code. Hope, small but fierce, began to grow. As the evacuation plans continued, so did the resistance. Small victories were won. A group in Tokyo managed to bring down one of the smaller alien craft. In Rio de Janeiro, Resistance fighters successfully jammed alien communications for a full hour. These small wins didn't go unnoticed by the aliens. Their attacks became more frequent, more vicious. But with each attack, humanity learned more, grew stronger. 3 months after the invasion began, the Resistance made its boldest move yet. In a coordinated attack, resistance cells around the world struck at the alien orbs simultaneously. Using hastily developed weapons based on reverse-engineered alien tech, they managed to destroy several of the orbs. For the first time, the aliens showed signs of surprise, even fear. Their seemingly invincible conquest had been challenged. As news of the successful attack spread, more and more people joined the resistance. The tide was turning. Humanity had been expected to flee, to surrender their home to these invaders. But they had chosen to fight instead. The real battle was just beginning. As the night deepened and stars filled the sky, John smiled. "You know," he said softly, "I think we're going to be okay." And looking at the bright, busy world around them, a world they had saved and remade, his friends couldn't help but agree. The others nodded in agreement. Humanity had been expected to flee. Instead, they had fought. And in doing so, they had discovered a strength they never knew they possessed. As the sun rose on a new day, it illuminated a changed world. The alien invasion was over, but humanity's next great adventure was just beginning. The years following the defeat of the alien invasion were both challenging and inspiring. Humanity faced the enormous task of rebuilding a world shattered by war, but they approached it with the same determination that had won them victory. John, now a key leader in the global reconstruction effort, stood atop a hill overlooking the ruins of what was once New York City. The skyline was different now, a mix of familiar structures and alien architecture being repurposed for human use. "It's something, isn't it?" Sarah said, joining him. She had become the head of a new global communication network, using salvaged alien technology to connect the scattered human populations. John nodded. 5 years ago, I never would have imagined this. We've come so far. Indeed they had. The defeat of the aliens had ushered in a new era of human cooperation. Old national boundaries became less important as people worked together to rebuild. The threat of a common enemy had united humanity in ways previously thought impossible. Maria and Dr. Yamamoto led the charge in understanding and adapting alien technology. Their breakthroughs revolutionized everything from energy production to medicine. Cities were rebuilt using materials stronger than anything Earth had known before. The first human settlements on Mars, once a distant dream, were now under construction. But it wasn't all smooth sailing. The integration of alien tech into human society brought its own challenges. Some feared it would change humanity too much, making them more like the beings they had fought so hard against. Alex, the young hacker who had been crucial in defeating the aliens, now worked to ensure the secure and ethical use of the new technology. "We can't forget what makes us human," Alex often said. "Our compassion, our creativity, our ability to learn and adapt. That's what saved us, not just the tech." There were other concerns too. The alien databases had revealed that their homeworld was not the only other inhabited planet in the galaxy. There were others out there, some possibly as advanced as the invaders had been. "We need to be ready," John said during a Global Security Council meeting. "Not just to defend ourselves, but to reach out, to learn." The idea of human spacecraft exploring the stars was no longer science fiction. Using the principles gleaned from alien propulsion systems, the first human interstellar probe was already under construction. But even as humanity looked to the stars, they didn't forget the lessons of the past. The alien invaders, driven from their dying world, served as a stark reminder of the importance of environmental stewardship. Efforts to heal Earth's ecosystems, damaged by both human activity and alien warfare, became a global priority. Sarah's network broadcasted stories of hope and progress from around the world. Tales of cities rising from the ashes, of new discoveries made possible by the melding of human ingenuity and alien technology, of people from different cultures coming together to solve common problems. One day, as the core group that had led humanity to victory gathered for a rare moment of relaxation, Maria raised a toast. "To the human spirit," she said, "unbroken, unbowed. And to those we lost along the way," John added solemnly. They all nodded, remembering the sacrifices that had made their victory possible. As they looked out over the evolving skyline, a strange light caught their attention. A streak across the sky, too controlled to be a shooting star, too fast to be one of their own ships. "Another alien craft?" Sarah asked, tension creeping into her voice. John shook his head. "No, look at the trajectory. It's not coming towards us. It's leaving." Realization dawned on them. It was the interstellar probe, beginning its long journey to the stars, humanity's first emissary to the wider galaxy. "Well," Alex said with a grin, "I guess we're the aliens now." They laughed, but there was wonder in their eyes as they watched the tiny light vanish into the darkness of space. Humanity had faced its greatest challenge and emerged stronger, wiser, more united. They had chosen to fight rather than flee, and in doing so had discovered the best of themselves. Now, as they took their first steps into a larger universe, they carried with them the lessons of the past and hope for the future. The alien invasion had changed everything, but the human spirit, adaptable and resilient, remained. Whatever challenges lay ahead in the vast expanse of space, humanity would face them together. In the Resistance headquarters, cheers erupted as reports came in. The virus had worked better than they had dared to hope. The alien forces were in disarray, but their celebration was cut short. On their screens, they watched as the motherships emerged from behind the moon. The massive vessels were heading towards Earth. The final confrontation was about to begin. Humanity had chosen to fight rather than flee. Now they would face the consequences of that choice. The sight of the massive alien motherships approaching Earth filled everyone with a mix of dread and determination. This was it, the moment that would decide the fate of humanity. In the Resistance headquarters, John barked orders. "Get those converted ships in the air now. We need every fighter we've got." Sarah coordinated communications, her voice steady despite the chaos. "All global defense systems, this is not a drill. Engage all approaching alien craft immediately." Maria and Dr. Yamamoto worked frantically to boost the power of their defensive systems. "If we can just hold them off long enough," Maria muttered, "maybe the virus will spread to their main systems." As the motherships entered Earth's atmosphere, the battle began. Human ships, once meant for escape, now flew bravely to meet the alien threat. The sky lit up with explosions as the two forces clashed. On the ground, people watched in awe and fear. This was different from the first invasion. This time, humanity was fighting back with everything they had. The alien ships were massive, dwarfing even the largest human vessels. But the human ships were quicker, more agile. They darted in and out, striking at weak points discovered through their study of alien technology. In the command center, Alex monitored the progress of the virus. "It's working," the young hacker shouted. "Their systems are starting to fail. But it's slow, too slow." John gritted his teeth. "We need to buy more time. Sarah, tell the ground forces to fire everything we've got at those ships. Maybe we can distract them." Around the world, makeshift weapons powered by alien technology opened fire on the motherships. Most of the shots bounced harmlessly off their hulls, but a few found weak spots, causing explosions that rocked the massive vessels. Hours passed. The battle raged on. Human casualties mounted, but so did alien losses. Slowly, the tide began to turn. Then something unexpected happened. One of the alien motherships suddenly went dark, its lights flickering out. It began to list to one side, dropping altitude rapidly. "The virus," Alex yelled. "It's taken over their main systems." A cheer went up in the command center, but John remained focused. "One down, but there are still more out there. Keep fighting." As if in response to their fallen comrade, the remaining motherships intensified their attack. They fired strange, pulsing energy beams that cut through human defenses like they were paper. "We can't take much more of this," Sarah reported, her voice grim. Just when all seemed lost, Maria burst into the room, her eyes wild with excitement. "I've got it," she shouted. "I know how to stop them." She quickly explained her plan. Using the alien technology they'd studied, they could create a massive electromagnetic pulse. It would disable all electronics in its radius, alien and human alike. "But that would leave us defenseless too," John pointed out. Maria nodded. "Yes, but we know it's coming. We can protect our most critical systems. They can't." It was a desperate gamble, but they were out of options. As the human forces retreated, drawing the alien ships closer to Earth, Maria and her team worked frantically to modify their remaining weapons. Finally, everything was ready. With a silent prayer, Maria activated the device. For a moment, nothing happened. Then, a wave of invisible energy swept outward. All across the battlefield, ships began to fall from the sky. The massive motherships, their complex systems overwhelmed, began to plummet towards the Earth. In the sudden silence that followed, humanity held its breath. Had it worked? Were the aliens defeated? As the dust settled, the answer became clear. The alien threat was neutralized. Their ships lay broken across the landscape, their advanced technology rendered useless. In the command center, exhausted but triumphant, John, Sarah, Maria, and Alex embraced. They had done it. Against all odds, humanity had stood its ground and emerged victorious. But as the initial euphoria faded, they realized the challenges were far from over. The world was in ruins. Alien technology and debris were scattered across the globe. And somewhere out there, on a distant planet, more aliens might be wondering what had happened to their invasion force. "What now?" Sarah asked, looking out at the devastated landscape. John squared his shoulders. "Now we rebuild, we learn, and we prepare. Because if they come back, we'll be ready." The darkest hour had come, but with it came a renewed determination. The war for Earth was far from over. The revelation from Dr. Yamamoto about the aliens' vulnerability sparked a renewed sense of purpose within the Resistance. For the first time since the devastating counterattack, humanity had a glimmer of hope. But turning this knowledge into a viable strategy would require careful planning and unprecedented cooperation. Maria, the young engineer, worked tirelessly with Dr. Yamamoto to develop a device that could detect the energy fluctuations in the alien weapons. After weeks of trial and error, they succeeded. The device, no larger than a smartphone, emitted a soft beep when it sensed the telltale energy dip after a weapon discharge. "It's not much," Maria said, her eyes red from lack of sleep. "But it's a start. If we can predict when they're vulnerable, we might stand a chance." John, the ex-soldier, saw the potential immediately. "We need to get these to every resistance cell we can reach," he said. "But we also need a way to strike hard and fast when the moment comes." Sarah, who had been quietly listening, spoke up. "What about the evacuation ships?" she suggested. "They were designed for space travel. Could we repurpose them as weapons?" The idea took hold. Over the next few days, engineers and former military personnel worked around the clock to modify the evacuation ships. Powerful engines were retrofitted with weaponry salvaged from downed alien craft. The ships that were meant to carry humanity away from Earth were now being prepared to defend it. As preparations continued, President Chen made a daring decision. Using old shortwave radio networks that had somehow escaped the aliens' notice, she broadcast a message to resistance cells worldwide. "The time has come," her voice crackled over the airwaves. "We have a plan to strike back at our invaders, but we will need every one of you. This is humanity's last stand. Together, we will reclaim our home." The response was overwhelming. From hidden bunkers and underground cities, survivors emerged. They brought with them whatever weapons they had managed to salvage or create. More importantly, they brought an unbreakable spirit and a burning desire for revenge. The plan was audacious. Using Maria's detection devices, resistance fighters would monitor the alien bases. The moment a weapon discharge was detected, they would signal the converted evacuation ships to attack. It was a plan that required split-second timing and perfect coordination. As the day of the attack approached, tension ran high. John drilled the fighters relentlessly, knowing that every second would count. Sarah worked on logistics, ensuring that each team had the supplies they needed. Maria and Dr. Yamamoto made last-minute adjustments to their equipment. The night before the attack, John found Sarah staring at an old photo of New York's skyline. "We'll see it again," he said softly. "We'll rebuild. Better than before." Sarah nodded, wiping away a tear. "I know. It's just, we've lost so much. What if this doesn't work?" "Then we'll try something else," John said firmly. "Humans don't give up. That's what these aliens never understood." As dawn broke, resistance fighters took up their positions around alien bases across the globe. In hidden hangars, pilots waited in their converted ships, engines humming with anticipation. The wait was excruciating. Hours passed with no activity. Then, just as morale was beginning to flag, it happened. An alien weapon discharge, vaporizing a mountain in the Andes. Maria's devices beeped in unison across the world. "Now," John shouted into his radio. Similar cries echoed in resistance bases everywhere. The converted ships rose into the air, their alien hybrid engines roaring. They streaked towards the alien bases, weapons primed. The aliens, caught in their moment of vulnerability, were slow to respond. Explosions lit up the sky as human ships engaged alien defenses. On the ground, resistance fighters used the chaos to infiltrate the bases. The battle was fierce, with losses on both sides. But for the first time, the aliens were on the defensive. Their impenetrable bases crumbled under the combined assault. Their fearsome weapons, once thought invincible, were destroyed one by one. As the sun set, the extent of humanity's victory became clear. They had destroyed or captured alien bases on every continent. The orbiting motherships, cut off from their ground support, retreated to the far side of the moon. In the smoking ruins of an alien base, John, Sarah, and Maria met. They were bruised, exhausted, but alive. More importantly, they were victorious. "We did it," Sarah said in disbelief. "We actually did it." John nodded, his face grim but satisfied. "This battle, yes. But the war isn't over. Those motherships are still out there." Maria held up her tablet, her eyes shining with excitement. The taste of victory was sweet, but short-lived. As humans celebrated their first major win against the alien invaders, the extraterrestrial forces regrouped. They had underestimated humanity's will to fight, but they weren't about to make the same mistake twice. 2 weeks after the battle that had seen humans reclaim several major cities, the aliens unleashed their full might. The attack came without warning, more devastating than anything they had launched before. From their orbiting motherships, the aliens deployed a new weapon. Massive energy beams, visible even in broad daylight, sliced through the atmosphere. Where they touched the ground, they left nothing but scorched earth. Entire cities vanished in seconds. Sarah Johnson watched in horror from a resistance bunker as New York, her home, was wiped off the map. "No," she whispered, tears streaming down her face. "All those people." John, the ex-soldier, put a comforting hand on her shoulder. His face was grim. "We knew they'd hit back hard. But this is beyond anything we imagined." Reports flooded in from around the globe. London, Tokyo, Moscow, Beijing, all gone. The death toll was astronomical. Billions lost in a single day of carnage. In what remained of Washington, D.C., President Chen addressed a shell-shocked nation. Her voice cracked as she spoke. "My fellow survivors, today we have witnessed unimaginable horror, but we must not lose hope. We must not give up. Humanity has faced dark times before, and we have always persevered. We will do so again. But her words rang hollow in the face of such destruction. For the first time since the invasion began, the will to fight began to waver. People who had once been eager to join the resistance now spoke of surrender. The evacuation plans, once abandoned, were hastily revived. Maria, the brilliant young engineer, worked tirelessly in her lab. The alien's new weapon had rendered most of her inventions useless. "There has to be a way," she muttered, poring over data from the attacks. "Every weapon has a weakness. We just have to find it." Days turned into weeks. The aliens, emboldened by their success, pushed their advantage. They established bases on Earth, massive structures that towered over the ruined landscapes of former cities. From these strongholds, they launched patrols to round up surviving humans. John led a group of resistance fighters on a daring mission to infiltrate one of these bases. They moved silently through the night, using Maria's latest invention, a device that masked their heat signatures from alien sensors. As they approached the base, John gasped. The structure was even more imposing up close. It pulsed with an eerie, otherworldly energy. "Remember," he whispered to his team, "we're here to gather intel. No heroics." They managed to slip inside, marveling at the alien technology surrounding them. Strange symbols covered the walls, and the air hummed with an unsettling frequency. As they delved deeper into the base, they stumbled upon something unexpected. A holding area filled with human prisoners. Among the captives, John recognized a face. Dr. Yamamoto. He whispered in disbelief. The renowned physicist had been presumed dead in the Tokyo attack. Dr. Yamamoto's eyes widened in recognition. "You must leave," he whispered urgently. "The aliens, they're not just conquering. They're experimenting on us, trying to understand how we think, how we fight." John's blood ran cold. He knew they couldn't leave these people behind, but a rescue attempt could jeopardize their entire mission. As he wrestled with the decision, alarms blared throughout the base. They had been discovered. "Run," John yelled to his team. In the chaos that followed, they managed to free some of the prisoners, including Dr. Yamamoto. But the cost was high. Half of John's team didn't make it out. As they fled into the night, explosion rocked the alien base. John looked back to see part of the structure collapsing. In the confusion, someone had managed to plant their explosives after all. Back at the Resistance headquarters, Dr. Yamamoto shared what he had learned. The aliens weren't invincible. Their powerful weapons required enormous amounts of energy. Each shot left them vulnerable for a brief period. "If we can strike at that moment," Dr. Yamamoto explained, "we might stand a chance." For the first time in weeks, a glimmer of hope returned to the Resistance. They had suffered a devastating blow, but they weren't out of the fight yet. Humanity had been pushed to the brink, but they refused to be broken. As plans were made for a counterattack, Sarah looked around at the determined faces surrounding her. "They thought we'd run," she said softly. "But we're still here. We're still fighting." John nodded, his expression fierce. "And we'll keep fighting. For every city they destroyed, for every life they took, we'll show these aliens what humans are really made of." "Yes, but look at what we've gained. With these bases, we can study their technology properly. We can learn to defend ourselves better." As they talked, more fighters gathered around them. There was still much to do. Defenses to rebuild, wounds to heal, a planet to reclaim. But for the first time since the invasion began, the future looked bright. Humanity had been expected to flee. Instead, they had stood their ground and fought back. And against all odds, they were winning. In the weeks following humanity's first major victory, a new challenge emerged. The captured alien bases were treasure troves of advanced technology, but deciphering their secrets proved to be a daunting task. Maria and Dr. Yamamoto led teams of scientists and engineers in studying the alien tech. Progress was slow and frustrating. The alien language and systems were completely foreign. defying all known principles of Earth science. "It's like trying to read a book written in smoke," Maria complained one day, rubbing her tired eyes. "Every time we think we understand something, it slips away." But their persistence paid off. Bit by bit, they began to unravel the mysteries of the alien technology. They discovered ways to power their own devices using the aliens' energy sources, greatly enhancing their capabilities. One day, while examining what appeared to be a navigation system, Dr. Yamamoto made a startling discovery. "Look at this," he called to Maria, pointing to a complex star chart. "These markings, I think they show the aliens' home world." The news spread like wildfire through the resistance. For the first time, they had concrete information about where the invaders came from. But more importantly, the star chart revealed something else: the aliens' supply lines. John saw the strategic importance immediately. "If we can disrupt their supply lines," he said in a meeting with resistance leaders, "we might be able to force those motherships out of hiding." Sarah, who had been coordinating global communication for the resistance, spoke up. "But how? We've barely managed to drive them off Earth. How can we fight them in space?" The room fell silent as the enormity of the challenge sank in. Then, a voice spoke from the back. "Maybe we don't have to fight them in space. Not directly, anyway." All eyes turned to see a newcomer. A young hacker named Alex who had been instrumental in cracking some of the alien codes. "Their ships communicate with the motherships constantly," Alex explained. "What if we could use that communication to our advantage?" The idea was ambitious and dangerous. Alex proposed creating a virus that could be uploaded to the alien ships, then spread to the motherships. If successful, it could potentially disable their entire fleet. The next few days were a flurry of activity. Maria and Dr. Yamamoto worked with Alex to understand the alien communication systems. John and Sarah coordinated with resistance cells worldwide to prepare for the operation. As they worked, they discovered something unexpected in the alien databases: video logs of the invaders. With the help of translation algorithms, they were able to understand parts of the alien speech. What they learned shocked them. The aliens weren't just conquerors, they were refugees. Their own world was dying, and Earth was to be their new home. This revelation sparked heated debates among the resistance. "Does this change anything?" Sarah asked during a late-night strategy session. "They still try to wipe us out." John shook his head. "No, it doesn't change what we need to do, but it might change how we do it." As the day of the operation approached, tension ran high. The plan was risky. Resistance fighters would need to get close enough to the remaining alien ground forces to upload the virus to their communication systems. From there, they hoped it would spread to the motherships. The night before the mission, Maria found John staring at the star chart. "Penny for your thoughts?" she asked. John sighed. "I joined the army to protect people. Never thought I'd be fighting aliens. And now I'm wondering if we're not so different from them." Maria nodded. "We're fighting for the same thing, aren't we? A home. But this is our home. We can't give it up." As dawn broke, resistance teams moved into position around the world. In hidden bunkers, Alex and a team of hackers prepared to launch the virus. The converted evacuation ships stood ready, in case military support was needed. The operation began. Across the globe, brave men and women risked their lives to get close to alien units. Many didn't make it, but enough succeeded. The virus was uploaded. For several tense hours, nothing seemed to happen. Then suddenly, the alien forces began to act erratically. Ground units lost coordination. The few remaining alien ships in Earth's atmosphere began to drift aimlessly.